Life has a way of teaching you that value isn't always visible on the surface. Sometimes it's buried deep, like the rare earth minerals that would soon turn my worthless beachfront property into the center of a multi-million-dollar battle. My name is Catherine Mitchell, and until 3 months ago, I was happily married to James Harrison, son of the influential Margaret Harrison, real estate mogul and self-proclaimed business genius. When James died suddenly of a heart attack at 35, I learned just how quickly family ties can unravel when property and money are involved. The old beach house had been my sanctuary since James bought it 7 years ago. While Margaret sneered at its weathered shingles and creaking floorboards, calling it a worthless investment, James and I saw its potential. What his mother didn't know, what no one knew except James and me, was why we'd really bought this particular stretch of beach. "Mrs. Harrison is here," Maria, my housekeeper, announced on that fateful Thursday morning. I was in James's study, reviewing the geological surveys he'd left behind, trying to make sense of the technical jargon about mineral deposits and extraction rights. Margaret Harrison swept in like a cold front, designer heels clicking against the hardwood floors. Behind her trailed her ever-present lawyer, Alan Peterson, and my brother-in-law Robert, who couldn't quite meet my eyes. "Catherine," Margaret's voice could have frozen seawater, "we need to discuss the property situation." I carefully closed the geological report. "What property situation, Margaret?" She settled into James's leather chair without invitation. "This dwelling." She glanced around with poorly concealed disgust. "The family has decided it's time to consolidate assets. The beach house was purchased with Harrison money, after all." "James purchased this house," I corrected quietly, "with his own money. I have the documentation." "Money he earned working for the family company," Robert interjected, finally finding his voice. "Technically, it's Harrison property." I thought about the safe behind James's desk, about the real reason we'd chosen this particular piece of worthless beachfront, about the geological surveys that had confirmed what James had suspected when he first heard rumors about rare earth deposits along this stretch of coastline. "The house is in my name," I said, keeping my voice level. "James made sure of that." Margaret's smile was a slash of red lipstick. "Did he?" Alan showed her. The lawyer produced a document with practiced flourish. "This contract, signed by James 3 years ago, clearly states that all property purchased with income from Harrison Developments remains under company control." "I never saw this contract," I said, scanning the papers. The signature looked wrong, too perfect, too precise. "Why would you? You were just the wife." Margaret stood, smoothing her channel suit. "We're being generous, Catherine. Take your personal belongings and leave. The house goes back to the family, where it belongs." "You can't just." "We already have," Robert cut in. "The locks have been changed. Security will arrive within the hour." I looked between them, Margaret's triumphant smirk, Robert's guilty avoidance, Alan's professional detachment. They had no idea what they were really fighting for. No clue about the true value hidden beneath this worthless beach house. "I'll need time to pack," I said, letting defeat color my tone. "You have 1 hour," Margaret declared. "Really, Catherine, it's better this way. What would you do with this dump anyway? The maintenance alone would bankrupt you." I gathered some clothes, photos, and a few precious mementos, making a show of fighting back tears. Let them think they'd won. Let them believe I was just another grieving widow being pushed out of her home. What they didn't see was the USB drive I slipped into my pocket, the one containing all of James's research, all the geological data, all the proof that this stretch of beach contained one of the largest deposits of rare earth minerals on the East Coast. The mining rights alone were worth millions. "One more thing," I said at the door, turning to Margaret. "James would have wanted me to tell you, sometimes value isn't obvious at first glance." She waved me away dismissively. "Spare me the sentimental drivel. Just be grateful we're not contesting the life insurance." I drove away slowly, watching in my rearview mirror as Robert directed the security team to take up positions around my beloved beach house. In my bag, nestled between old photos and worn sweaters, was something else they hadn't thought to look for. The original deed to the property with an interesting addendum about mineral and mining rights that James had insisted on including. My phone buzzed. A message from Thomas Chen, the mining company executive James had been secretly meeting with before his death. Documents received. Moving forward with claim tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. meeting still on? I smiled, typing back a simple yes. Then I called my lawyer, Sarah Martinez, who had been waiting for this moment. They took the bait, I told her. Everything exactly as James predicted. Are the papers ready? All set, she confirmed. The mining company's legal team will file first thing tomorrow. Want to bet how long it takes Margaret Harrison to realize what she just stole? I checked my watch. In less than 24 hours, Margaret would learn that the worthless beach house she just seized sat on top of minerals worth more than her entire real estate empire. And thanks to James's careful planning, the mining rights belong solely to me. See you at 9, I said, ending the call. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting back. It's letting your enemies think they've won, right before they discover what they've really lost. The next morning, I arrived at the offices of Martinez and Associates dressed for battle in a crisp charcoal suit, one of many things Margaret had criticized as trying too hard to fit in with real business people. The conference room already held an impressive gathering. Thomas Chen and his mining company executives, Sarah Martinez and her legal team, and 2 geological experts with decades of experience in rare earth mineral extraction. At exactly 9:15 a.m., my phone lit up with the first of what would become a storm of calls from the Harrison family. I smiled, imagining the scene playing out at their offices. Ms. Mitchell, Thomas Chen began, spreading out detailed geological maps. Everything is proceeding as your late husband arranged. The mining rights claim has been filed, and our preliminary surveys confirm his initial findings. The rare earth deposits under your property are even more extensive than we initially believed. Sarah Martinez checked her watch. The claim will be public record in about now. My phone buzzed again. Margaret's third call in 5 minutes. This time, I answered on speaker. What have you done? Margaret's voice trembled with rage. Do you have any idea what just crossed my desk? Good morning, Margaret. I trust you've had time to review the property's mineral rights documentation. This is impossible, she sputtered. These claims, these surveys. James would have told us. Would he? I kept my voice calm. The same way you told him about that convenient contract you used to seize our house? The one with the suspiciously perfect signature. Silence crackled over the line. Catherine, her tone shifted to honey persuasion. Clearly we should discuss this as a family. This situation with the house. Perhaps we were hasty. You mean when you changed the locks and gave me an hour to leave my home? I looked around the conference room, meeting the supportive gazes of my team. I'm in a meeting right now, Margaret. My lawyers and the mining company executives require my full attention. Mining company? Her voice rose an octave. You can't negotiate without us. The house belongs to Harrison Developments now. The house does, I agreed, but not the mineral rights. James was very careful about that when we purchased the property. Check the original deed, specifically the addendum about subsurface rights. Oh wait, I paused for effect. You can't check it because I have the only copy, the one you didn't think to ask for when you were so busy throwing me out. The sound of papers shuffling came through the speaker, followed by muffled cursing. Robert. Margaret's voice moved away from the phone. Find Alan immediately. Sarah Martinez nodded to her assistant, who pulled up a document on the conference room screen. Mrs. Harrison, since you're on the line, you should know we're about to file an injunction. Your company now owns a lovely beach house, but any attempt to interfere with the mineral rights or mining operations will result in immediate legal action. The minerals under that property are worth millions. Margaret's composure finally shattered. You can't just. Current market estimates put the value closer to $300 million. Thomas Chen interjected. Conservative estimate, of course. Could be significantly higher once full extraction begins. I heard something that sounded suspiciously like a crystal tumbler shattering against a wall. Margaret, I said quietly, James always said you taught him his most valuable business lesson. Never judge an investment by its surface appearance. He spent 2 years researching these mineral deposits before we bought that worthless beach house. Every time you mocked our choice, every time you called it a dump, we knew what was really under our feet. Why didn't he tell us? Robert's voice came through faintly. Because he knew you too well, I answered. Knew you tried to take control, just like you took everything else. So he made sure I would be protected. The house might belong to Harrison Developments now. But the real value, The minerals, the mining rights, the extraction contracts, all of that belongs to me. We can negotiate. Margaret's business voice was back. Surely we can reach some arrangement. Actually, we can't. I've already signed an exclusive contract with Chen Mining. They're handling all negotiations and operations. I nodded to Thomas, who was beaming. But I'm sure they'll be happy to discuss fair market rates for accessing their minerals through your property. The silence that followed was deafening. One more thing, I added. James left a letter with his lawyers, detailing his suspicions about certain document irregularities at Harrison Developments, forged signatures, backdated contracts, that sort of thing. I'm having it reviewed, just out of curiosity. The line went dead. Over the next few hours, we finalized the mining agreements. By afternoon, Harrison Developments' stock had dropped 12% as the market digested the news that they'd seized a property worth millions, only to discover they had no rights to its most valuable asset. Robert called around sunset, his voice heavy with whiskey and regret. Kat, I didn't know about any of it. The contract, the minerals. But you still helped her throw me out of my home. I reminded him gently. Actions have consequences, Robert. James tried to teach you that too. A week later, I received a formal offer from Harrison Developments to purchase the mineral rights for twice their estimated value. I had my lawyers send back a single page, a photo of Margaret changing the locks on my front door, with a simple note, not for sale at any price. The beach house itself. I let them keep it. The constant drone of mining equipment, the endless parade of trucks and workers, the total destruction of Margaret's plans to develop the area into luxury condos. That was worth more than the property itself. Sometimes I drive by at sunset, watching the mining operations from my car. The house's weathered shingles are still there, but now they're surrounded by heavy machinery and survey equipment. I imagine Margaret's face every time she has to sign another check to Chen Mining for access to her own property. James would have appreciated the irony. He always said his mother's greatest weakness was her inability to see past surface appearances, whether in properties or people. In trying to take everything from his worthless widow, she handed me the keys to an empire built on what lay beneath. The geological surveys continue to find new deposits. Chen Mining's estimates now put the total value close to $500 million. Margaret still sends occasional offers through various intermediaries, each one higher than the last. I keep them all in a file labeled Property Assessments. James would have enjoyed that little joke. Next to it sits his final gift, a letter to be opened a year after his death. I don't need to open it to remember what he wrote. We'd laughed about it the day we bought the beach house, standing on our weathered deck above our secret fortune. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting back, it's letting them take exactly what they want, never realizing they've given you everything in return. Last week, I received an invitation to the Harrison Developments annual shareholders meeting. My new status as owner of their property's mineral rights apparently qualifies me as a strategic partner. I sent my regrets, along with a small gift for Margaret, a jar of beach sand from her property, with a note saying sometimes true value lies beneath the surface. I've moved on to a smaller house further up the coast, away from the noise of the mining operations. But every now and then, I visit my old beach at sunset, watching the mighty machines extract millions in minerals from beneath the house Margaret just had to have. And I smile, knowing that sometimes the best victory isn't in what you keep, it's in what you let others take, never realizing they're giving you exactly what you wanted all along.